A tower crane stands hundreds of feet in the air, but it only takes one weakness for everything to come crashing down. In this incident, the entire structure gives way, steel bending, cables snapping, and the crane folding in on itself before slamming to the ground. The impact is devastating, leaving behind chaos, destruction, and lives forever changed. Crane collapses don't happen out of nowhere. They're almost always tied to poor maintenance, overloading, bad weather, or untrained operators. It's a brutal reminder that when safety slips at this scale, the consequences are instant and catastrophic. Inside a truck, stacks of vegetable boxes are piled high with zero stability, leaning, shifting, and just waiting to come down. Workers move around like everything's fine, and one of them walks right past the truck at the worst possible moment. The stack gives out, the boxes topple forward, and they crash straight onto him, leaving him injured before he even knows what happened. It's a simple setup with a dangerous outcome, and all of it comes down to poor load securing. When storage isn't stable, anything stacked above head height becomes a hazard ready to fall. Mirandilov. An excavation crew is working inside a deep trench when the soil around them starts to shift, a sign no one should ever ignore. Within seconds, the entire wall caves in, sending a massive wave of dirt collapsing straight into the work area. There's no time to react, no space to escape, and the results can be deadly. Excavation walls don't fail by surprise, they fail because safety steps were skipped. No shoring, no reinforcement, no proper soil checks. It's a hard wake-up call that in trench work, the ground is always waiting to collapse if you don't respect it. A crane is lifting a massive load on a construction site, but the weight is far beyond what the machine can safely handle. As the load rises, the crane starts tipping forward, and the operator instantly realizes he's in serious danger. He jumps out in a desperate attempt to escape, but the moment he hits the ground, the entire crane collapses and comes down right on top of him. The result is fatal. Overloading isn't just a technical mistake, it's a life-threatening one. When limits are ignored, even the operator's last-second reaction isn't enough to stop disaster. A factory worker is on the phone while operating a roller machine, a combination that should never happen. He's so distracted that he steps way too close, and in an instant the rollers grab his clothing and pull him straight in. The force is brutal, and the outcome is catastrophic. This is exactly how a split second of distraction turns deadly around heavy machinery. Phones, casual chats, anything that pulls attention away, they all become hazards. In environments like this, focus isn't optional, it's survival. With proper guarding, emergency stops, and strict no-phone policies, accidents like this can be prevented before they ever begin. Two workers decide to walk right under a hanging load to check something beneath it, a move that's risky from the start. As they're inspecting, the load suddenly slips in its rigging and drops just inches from where they're standing. They avoid a serious or even fatal hit by pure luck. It's the kind of close call that shows how dangerous shortcuts can be around suspended loads. If the area isn't cleared and the lift isn't secure, one tiny shift can turn a near miss into a tragedy. At the Reynosa gas plant in 2012, a routine workday turned catastrophic in seconds. A high-pressure gas leak went unnoticed until it ignited, triggering a massive blast that ripped through the facility. The explosion sent a fireball across the plant, killing dozens of workers and injuring many more. With hundreds of employees and contractors on site, there was no time to escape the chain reaction of fire and collapsing equipment. The disaster became one of Mexico's deadliest industrial accidents, a harsh reminder that in gas facilities, even a single leak can escalate into unimaginable destruction when safety systems fail. A massive grain silo starts showing signs of failure, and you can literally watch the structure give up in real time. The iron rods begin snapping one by one, each break louder than the last, like the whole thing is warning what's about to happen. Seconds later, the silo finally collapses, splitting open as thousands of pounds of grain burst out like a tidal wave. It's a dramatic reminder that storage structures don't fail quietly. When maintenance slips and pressure builds, they crumble from the inside out, and the results are impossible to stop. A crew is busy digging at a construction site while an excavator tears into the ground, but no one realizes there's a high-pressure water line just below the surface. One wrong strike and the excavator hits it directly, blowing the pipe open. A massive jet of water explodes upward, blasting the workers nearby with incredible force. Several are thrown off balance and some are seriously injured before they even know what happened. It's a harsh reminder that underground utilities aren't optional checks. Ignoring them turns a simple dig into a high-pressure disaster waiting to happen. A factory worker starts pouring a flammable liquid, likely petrol, into a boiler or chimney-style unit, but the setup is already a disaster waiting to happen. With improper handling and a hidden ignition source nearby, the liquid vaporizes instantly and catches fire. A violent burst of flames erupts, the container explodes, and the worker is suddenly engulfed in fire from head to toe. He runs completely ablaze, showing just how severe the burns are. This is what happens when flammable liquids meet heat, sparks, or sloppy procedures. One mistake, and everything goes up in flames. A crew is trying to lift long metal pipes at a construction site, but no one notices the overhead electrical wires right above them. As the pipes rise, they touch the live line, and the moment metal meets electricity, the current shoots straight through the entire group. Several workers are electrocuted instantly, dropping in shock as the site erupts into chaos. It all happens in a split second. No warning, no time to react. This is exactly why overhead clearance checks aren't optional. When metal gets too close to live power, one mistake can turn a simple lift into a life-threatening disaster. Workers are going about their usual tasks on the factory floor when an excavator nearby suddenly becomes unstable. Whether it's a mechanical failure or sloppy handling, the machine tips over without warning. Heavy parts crash down into the workspace below, sending workers scrambling in every direction. One worker takes a direct hit and collapses from the impact, while the rest barely escape. It's a brutal reminder that heavy machinery doesn't give second chances. Without strict safety checks, clear zones, and proper operation, one slip can turn an ordinary workday into a dangerous emergency. A worker climbs a ladder to fix a ceiling light, but the setup is unsafe from the start. The ladder is resting on an uneven, unstable surface. He's working at height with no support, no spotter, and no proper footing. A small shift is all it takes. The ladder slips, he loses balance, and he falls straight backward. He lands hard on a pile of solid material stacked below, taking the full impact across his back. The injuries look devastating, and possibly fatal. It's a harsh reminder that even simple tasks become deadly when basic ladder safety is ignored. An excavator operator is clearing waste and loading it into a truck, focused entirely on the job in front of him. But then another worker rides into the dump zone on a bike and gets way too close to the machine's swing area. The operator doesn't see him at all and keeps working, and in one horrifying moment, the excavator's bucket scoops up the worker instead of the debris. The crush injuries are severe and immediate. It's a brutal reminder that heavy equipment demands clear zones, communication, and visibility at all times. One blind spot is all it takes for a routine task to turn deadly. A worker is moving a gas cylinder when it slips from his hands and hits the ground. The impact damages the valve, and pressurized gas starts blasting out instantly. That turns the cylinder into a spinning projectile, whipping around the worksite with incredible force. It slams into the worker who dropped it, and injures others who happen to be nearby. Moments like this show just how dangerous pressurized cylinders really are. One fall, one broken valve, and you're dealing with a high-speed missile instead of a tool. Proper handling isn't optional when the pressure inside can do this much damage. A tower crane is lifting construction materials across the site, but a worker is standing directly under the suspended load, the most dangerous place to be. As the crane shifts, the rigging suddenly fails, or the load becomes unbalanced, and the materials drop without warning. They crash straight onto the worker below, leaving him with devastating injuries. Incidents like this don't happen by chance, they happen because exclusion zones aren't enforced. No one should ever be under a suspended load, because when something goes wrong, it goes wrong fast and with deadly force. At a busy worksite, materials were stacked carelessly on top of each other, creating a shaky tower just waiting to collapse. As two workers walk past, the stack finally shifts, and heavy pieces tumble straight onto one of them. He goes down with severe injuries and bleeding before anyone can react. This is the kind of accident that happens when unstable piles are left in high-traffic areas. Safe stacking, clear walkways, and proper PPE aren't optional. They're what stand between a normal workday and a serious injury. One unstable load is all it takes to put lives at risk. An excavator is plowing through thick mud at a construction site, pushing material around like it's routine work. But right beside it, a deep pit has formed, and a worker climbs down to inspect something. While he's inside, the excavator keeps moving, and the pressure and vibration shake the entire area. The loose mud on the pit's walls gives way and collapses instantly, burying the worker before anyone can react. It's a brutal reminder that unstable excavations are one of the deadliest hazards on a site, and stepping into a pit without proper shoring, communication, or clearance can turn into a buried alive emergency in seconds. Inside a warehouse, heavy material bags are stacked carelessly on top of each other, leaning and overloaded with zero stability. A car is parked right beside this disaster and waiting, and the driver is still inside. Without warning, the entire stack collapses, crashing down onto the car and shattering the windshield. The driver is hit hard and suffers serious injuries. This is exactly what happens when storage is treated like an afterthought. Proper stacking, secured loads, clear safety zones, and regular inspections aren't optional, because one unstable pile can turn parked vehicles and people into targets. Inside a machinery unit, workers are monitoring operations when one of them steps a little too close to a rotating machine. He's wearing loose clothing, and that alone becomes deadly. In a split second, the fabric gets caught, and the machine pulls him in with unstoppable force. There's no time to escape, and the injuries are fatal. It's a heartbreaking reminder that rotating machinery and loose clothing never mix. Proper PPE, guarded equipment, and safe distance are non-negotiable, because one snag is all it takes to cost a life. At an oil rigging site, 2 workers are repairing a drilling pipe when things go wrong fast. The pipe suddenly breaks free from its controls and starts rotating at high speed, whipping around with attached material still on it. Before they can react, the spinning pipe slams into both workers, leaving them with severe, life-threatening injuries. Oil rigs are unforgiving environments, and one malfunction can turn deadly in seconds. Proper maintenance, tight fastening, clear communication, and real safety protocols are the only things standing between routine rigging work and a catastrophic accident like this. A crane lifter is raising goods to an upper level inside a warehouse when the lift suddenly goes wrong. The material isn't secured properly, and mid-air it breaks free and drops straight down. A nearby worker takes the hit and goes down injured before he even knows what happened. Incidents like this are completely preventable. Workers shouldn't be anywhere near a live lift, loads must be locked in tight, and operators need clear communication from everyone on the floor. When heavy machinery is involved, one loose hook or one misstep can turn a routine lift into a dangerous fall. A truck is unloading a sand-like mix, but the driver makes a critical mistake. He forgets to open the last door that releases the material. As the hydraulics lift the bed, the load stays trapped, building up pressure and weight until the entire truck becomes unstable. In seconds, it tips over sideways, throwing the driver out and leaving him injured on the ground. This is exactly why unloading procedures matter. One unchecked door, one misstep, and a routine dump turns into a rollover. Proper equipment checks, safe positioning, and real training are what keep moments like this from becoming workplace emergencies. A worker is perched on a ladder, cutting through an iron sheet with a gas welding torch, already a risky setup with zero stability. As the torch slices deeper, the sheet suddenly snaps and drops straight onto the ladder. The impact knocks the ladder off balance, and the worker loses control and falls hard from the height. The injuries are immediate. This is what happens when cutting work is done without proper support or a safe working platform. One break, one shift, and the entire setup collapses under you. Safe footing and secure positioning aren't optional. They're what keep workers off the ground and out of the emergency room. At an oil rigging site, a worker is feeding an iron drilling pipe into a rotating machine, expecting it to lock in and drive into the ground. But the placement is off, or the machine malfunctions, and the pipe never secures the way it should. The moment the rotation starts, the pipe whips around uncontrollably, turning into a metal battering ram. It slams into the worker with devastating force, leaving him severely injured. Incidents like this show why rigging work demands absolute precision, proper training, and constant equipment checks. One unsecured pipe is all it takes for a routine task to explode into a life-threatening accident. A crane is loading heavy wood logs onto a truck while workers stand on and around the loading area. One worker is on the truck watching the logs come in, and 2 others are guiding the driver. But then the crane's lifting threads snap without warning. The entire load drops, slamming straight onto the worker on the truck and causing what appears to be fatal injuries. Another worker nearby is seriously hurt as the logs scatter. This is exactly why lifting operations demand strict maintenance, proper rigging, and clear distance zones. One broken thread is all it takes for tons of wood to fall and turn a routine job into a tragedy. A worker is standing high above the ground on a construction site, doing his job with no safety harness, no lanyard, nothing to stop a fall. Suddenly he becomes dizzy, maybe from fatigue, heat, or a health issue, and that split second is all it takes. He loses balance and drops from the height with nothing to break the fall. The injuries are severe and completely preventable. Working at elevation without fall protection is a gamble no one ever wins. Harnesses, anchors, and proper safety checks aren't extras. They're what keep workers alive when the unexpected hits. In a factory, an automated robot is lifting and moving materials while a worker stands just behind it, monitoring the process. Everything seems routine until the robot malfunctions. Its mechanical arm suddenly swings back and grabs the worker, locking onto him with brutal force. There's no quick release, no warning, and the injuries are severe, possibly fatal. Robots don't understand proximity or hesitation, which is why safety zones, sensors, and fail-safes are non-negotiable. When automation and human workers share the same space, one malfunction can turn into a deadly trap.